In today's lesson, we will be rounding whole numbers to a given place value.
Hey everybody, Miss Jewell here. I don't know about you all, but I love a good concert. Let's get ready to rock! I love concerts so much that before coronavirus, I used to go to them all the time. And I did it for my job. What do you mean, Miss Jewell? I was the ticket collector. You may enter. You may enter. At one concert, I actually had 368,255 people come to that concert. That's a lot of tickets! But of course I don't just go around saying there were 368,255 people at the concert. That would be just absurd to say. I give them more of an estimated number. I do something called rounding. Rounding is when you take a number and express it in a more approximate way, something that's a little more simpler to understand, instead of saying the exact full number in its standard form. To help you better understand rounding, I'm going to take you on a little adventure with me. We're about to go on something called the rounding roller coaster. I have 368,255 people at this concert, but I want to round it to the highest place value. I want to round it to my 100,000th place. That way, people better understand really just how many people were at the concert. Approximately. So for the first step of the rounding roller coaster, buckle up, because it's about to be a bumpy ride. Step one of our rounding roller coaster is to get into place and underline the digit that we're actually rounding to. We're currently trying to round this number, 368,255, to the nearest 100,000th place. Our digit in the 100,000th place is our 3. So we just underlined our 3. We buckled him up. Step 2 is I need to determine the two benchmarks or multiples that 368,255 would come in between. If we're rounding to the nearest 100,000, we're looking in that 100,000th place. We'll notice that 368,255 is going to fall somewhere in between 300,000 and 400,000. So I even modeled it on a number line. So now my next step is to look at the next digit over in that 10,000th place and to help me determine if this number is truly closer to 400,000 or 300,000. So I circled that digit, underlined the place value I'm rounding to, and circled the digit next door. I also want you to remember that halfway in between 300 and 400,000, there's gonna be a benchmark in between those two whole numbers, and that's gonna be that 350,000. Because remember, 5 is a benchmark in itself. 5 is exactly halfway between 0 and 10. So 350,000 will be halfway in between 300,000 and 400,000. If something is greater than halfway, it's going to be closer to that top benchmark. If it's less than halfway, it's going to be closer to the first benchmark. So if I'm looking at my number line, this 368,255 is going to fall above that 350,000, somewhere around about that point. There's a riddle that I'm going to use to help me remember this. That riddle is 5 or more, add 1 more. 4 or less, let it rest. Try saying that 3 times fast.
5 or more, add 1 more. 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, add 1 more. 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, add 1 more. 4 or less, let it rest.
That riddle also helps me explain the whole meaning behind the rounding roller coaster. As you can see in my beautiful drawing, all the numbers 1 through 4 are resting. They have yet to begin the incline up the hill. So they are resting. 4 or less, let it rest. However, 5 or more are starting to grow, so we're going to add 1 more. They're the ones that are moving up the hill. 5 or more, add 1 more. And guess what? When we finally solve the problem, we can go, woohoo! So 6 is greater than 5. 5 or more, add 1 more. 6 is greater than 5. And you can also see on the number line, 368,255 falls after that 350,000 benchmark. 5 or more, add 1 more. We're getting into this top bracket over here. So if I'm adding 1 more to the 6, that I'm not adding it to the 6 itself, I'm adding it to my underlined digit, the place value that I'm rounding to. So if I'm adding 1 more digit to my 3, I'm adding one more to my 3, I'm gonna get 4, bringing my approximate answer to 400,000. There were approximately 400,000 people at the concert last night. Rock and roll! Let's say now that there were only 325,255 people who attended that concert. I'm going to circle that digit next door and ask myself, is that 2 5 or more, or 4 or less? 2 is 4 or less, so we're going to let it rest. But what are we letting rest? We're letting our underlined digit rest, that 3 in the 100,000s place. So if that 3 rests, then my answer is going to rest to 300,000. I also noticed that if I would have plotted to my best ability that 325,255 on a number line, it's going to fall somewhere closer to the 300,000 benchmark because 2 is less. That 2 in the 10,000s place is less than the 5 in the 10,000s place. It's been such a great time learning math with y'all today. I hope that you've enjoyed my visualization of rounding roller coaster and also enjoyed a great rock concert from yours truly, the Ticket Collector. Until next time, this is Miss Jewell. Catch you later.